Let's open the book on this. What if one coach could redefine teams but never win a title? Let's explore Rick Adelman's legacy. Hi, I'm Leah, feeling excited to dive into this basketball legend's story.
And I'm Garrett, eager to explore this fascinating sports journey.
Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.
All right, let's set the stage for this one. Today we're talking Rick Adelman, a Hall of Fame NBA coach whose read and react offense turned good squads into beautiful basketball machines, and whose teams kept knocking on the door without quite grabbing that championship ring. How about this to get us rolling? Personal throwback. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and my dad took me to a Portland Trail Blazers home game against the Sacramento Kings when Rick Adelman was coaching Sacramento. So picture the Rose Garden, now called Moda Center, buzzing. I was a kid, and I remember the ball pinging around like it had its own plan. The Kings would throw it to the high post, that area near the free throw line, and then snap into backdoor cuts and quick handoffs. It felt like watching a great jazz band improvise. Everyone listened, everyone responded. Even the crowd kind of gasped in those moments when a cutter slipped behind the defense. That one night sent me down the rabbit hole on how coaching schemes shape what we see. I started sketching plays on napkins, no joke. That's how Adelman got me, not just with wins, but with the feeling that 5 players could think together in real time. That's pretty cool, right?
Let's set the scene for this one. Quick definition so we keep it crystal. The NBA is the National Basketball Association, the top pro men's league in North America, and the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame is the museum in Springfield, Massachusetts, that honors the greats of the game. Rick Adelman was inducted in 2021, which basically says he changed basketball in a lasting way. His signature was a calm sideline vibe and a system built on reads, meaning players make smart choices based on what the defense gives them, not just rigid set plays. Think chess, but the pieces can improvise when they see a gap. The king and queen are your stars, sure, but your pawns are constantly creating angles, and every move sets up a future move 2 passes ahead.
And the impact was measurable. Across 23 NBA seasons, Adelman won 1,042 regular season games, which put him in the top 10 all-time at the time of his passing in 2026. That is elite durability. He never lifted the trophy, but his teams often pushed deep into May and sometimes June, which we'll unpack. He did it with different stars, different eras, and different front offices, which honestly is like remodeling 4 or 5 houses with totally different blueprints and still making each one livable and beautiful.
Okay, here we go, from the top. Early days. Rick Adelman was born in June 1946 in Linwood, California, to parents from North Dakota who worked as teachers and farmers. That blend of education and hard work shows up later in his preparation and accountability themes. He played guard in high school at Pius Tech's in Downey, then at Loyola University of Los Angeles, now Loyola Marymount University, where he learned the timing and floor vision a coach dreams about.
He got drafted in 1968 by the San Diego Rockets, back when the draft had more rounds, and later landed with the expansion Portland Trail Blazers in 1970. Quick note, an expansion draft is when a brand new team builds a roster by selecting a few unprotected players from other teams. Adelman had his best scoring year with the inaugural Blazers, then bounced to the Bulls, the Jazz, and the Kansas City Omaha Kings before retiring as a player in 1975. He averaged 7.7 points and 3.5 assists across 462 games, steady, system-friendly numbers that fit the way he'd later coach.
Then comes the pivot. He started coaching at Chemeketa Community College in Oregon from 1977 to 1983, 6 seasons of pure teaching, where a coach can try ideas without the nightly NBA spotlight. That is where the bones of his motion offense really formed. After that, he returned to the Blazers as an NBA assistant under Jack Ramsey, a Hall of Fame coach known for discipline and detail, and he stayed on through the transition to Mike Schuler. When Schuler was fired mid-season in 1989, Adelman got promoted to interim head coach, and boom, he steadied a 39-43 team and still made the playoffs.
Portland locked him in full-time after that. Then the surge. In 1990, the Blazers went 59-23 and reached the NBA Finals, falling to the Detroit Pistons, a brutally physical and brilliant defensive group nicknamed the Bad Boys. In 1991, they won 63 games and made the Western Conference Finals, and in 1992, they won 57 and returned to the NBA Finals, this time losing to Michael Jordan's Chicago Bulls. Not gonna lie, running into peak Pistons and peak Jordan is like trying to summit Everest in the middle of a blizzard. You can have elite gear and still get turned back.
After a couple of earlier playoff exits in 1993 and 1994, Portland moved on from Adelman. He took the Golden State Warriors job in 1995, but injuries and roster churn made it tough. They missed the playoffs during his 2-year run and parted ways in 1997. Real talk, this is a reminder that even great ideas need healthy players and a little stability. The next chapter, though, is the one that lives in highlight reels. In 1998, he joined the Sacramento Kings, a franchise that had struggled to be consistent since relocating to Sacramento in the 1980s, and immediately the culture shifted.
Those Kings were gorgeous to watch. With playmaking big men like Vlade Divac, a crafty center known for passing, and Chris Webber, an all-star forward who could face up and dime guys from the elbow, plus shooters like Peja Stojakovic and a clutch point guard in Mike Bibby, they turned spacing into a weapon. Under Adelman, Sacramento made 8 straight playoffs from 1999 to 2006. That's wild longevity for a market that size. They won a franchise-best 61 games in 2002 and pushed the Los Angeles Lakers, who were led by coach Phil Jackson, the mastermind behind the triangle offense, to the brink in the Western Conference Finals.
And here's where we say the word that still causes heated barbershop debates: controversial. The 2002 Western Conference Finals went 7 games, and Game 6 in particular is often cited as one of the most controversially officiated games in NBA history because of foul disparities and a few high-profile late whistles. The league never changed the result, and both sides had chances, but the series became a touchstone for how hard it is to separate human judgment from high-stakes moments. Also in that era, Adelman publicly pushed back when Phil Jackson reportedly compared him to Adolf Hitler as a motivational tactic for the Lakers. That comparison was widely criticized as beyond the line. Keeping it real, Adelman handled it with firmness and dignity, which fit his steady public presence.
Sacramento and Adelman eventually parted ways in 2006, with friction involving ownership. The Maloof brothers were the team's owners at the time. Then came Houston in 2007. He inherited Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, 2 superstars with big-time skill sets, and he layered his motion principles onto a group that could really defend. In 2008, they ripped off 22 straight wins, the 3rd longest streak in NBA history. Even after Yao's season-ending injury that year, the system kept humming because role players knew exactly what to do. In 2009, without a healthy McGrady and then losing Yao during the playoffs, they still beat Portland and pushed the Lakers to 7 games. That's system trust and depth doing heavy lifting.
After 4 seasons, he and Houston diverged on direction in 2011. Minnesota hired him next, giving him a young core with Kevin Love, a stretch big who could rebound and pass, and Ricky Rubio, a creative point guard. The Wolves showed signs even amid injuries. In April 2013, Adelman got his 1,000th win, becoming just the 8th coach to reach that club. He retired from coaching in 2014, shifted into a consulting role with Minnesota, moved back to Portland with his wife Mary Kay to be near their 6 children and 11 grandchildren, and remained a respected voice in the game. There's family depth here, too. His son David Adelman rose through the ranks and became an NBA head coach, and heartbreakingly, his eldest son, RJ, who had worked in NBA front offices, passed away in 2018 after a traffic accident.
In 2021, Rick Adelman was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame. That's the sports saying, your ideas and your results shaped us. His final ledger reads 1,042 regular season wins with a .582 winning percentage and a playoff record of 79 and 78 across 16 postseason trips. He advanced to the NBA Finals twice with Portland, authored one of the great winning streaks with Houston, and made Sacramento the league's most elegant passing team for nearly a decade. He died in 2026 at age 79, and the tributes poured in about his integrity, his player empowerment approach, and that quiet sideline presence that still somehow filled the room.
Let's unpack this controversial question. The 2002 Western Conference Finals. Western Conference Finals means the round that sends the West's best team into the NBA Finals. Did officiating swing that series? There's a strong case that certain calls in Game 6 changed the momentum in a way that Sacramento couldn't quite overcome. And momentum in a playoff series is like oxygen. You only notice it when you don't have it. The foul count and a few late whistles created a perception, and sometimes perception affects how players attack the next possession. If you feel you cannot be as physical, you change angles, you second guess, and that half beat matters.
I hear that, and I agree the optics were rough, but I lean on missed opportunities too. The Kings were up 3-2 in the series and had Game 7 at home. They missed free throws late, and there were empty possessions in crunch time. In a series that tight, every small edge matters. It's not to excuse iffy whistles, but to say the math of 7 games includes everything. If Sacramento hits 2 more freebies or executes a cleaner endgame set, maybe we're remembering the series as the night Arco Arena, their home floor, became a title springboard.
Why do you weigh the missed chances more than the calls? I'm honestly curious. From my angle, the human element of officiating is the one factor players can't control, and when that tilts, it can override even great execution.
Totally fair question. I guess it's because execution is the lever you always have your hand on. You cannot change a whistle, but you can change how you prepare for late-game scenarios, who shoots the last free throws, or how you scheme the final 2 minutes to protect against variance. Think of it like a pilot. You can't control wind gusts, but you can adjust your approach, speed, and angle. The Kings still had Game 7 in their building. That's a big lever.
That's something to chew on, huh? I still circle back to the idea that compounded calls change the psychology of a closeout. And this matters for Adelman's legacy because it shows how coaching greatness can meet immovable objects. Dynasties like the Lakers under Phil Jackson, health issues later in Houston with Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady, and then razor-thin moments like 2002. It's more than X's and O's. It's timing, luck, and context.
And speaking of context living on, the 2002 series gets replayed in documentaries all the time, and the Rockets' 22-game streak pops up every season. A team flirts with double-digit wins in a row. Those are Adelman fingerprints in pop culture memory. When you see a modern offense run actions through the elbow and big-to-big passing, you can trace a line back to him. That hits different once you realize the tree those ideas came from.
Here's something to get us started for a what if. What if the Kings had won the 2002 Western Conference Finals? Alternate timeline. The Kings likely meet the New Jersey Nets, an East champ led by Jason Kidd, a Hall of Fame point guard known for pace and vision. I picture Adelman's Kings with that 5-man connectivity carving up the half court, and I think they could absolutely win a title there. If that happens, Adelman is a championship coach, and the conversation around him shifts from great system builder to great finisher, which changes the weight of every later debate.
And for the franchise identity piece, I think Sacramento's entire arc alters. A championship in a smaller market cements a culture that survives ownership changes and roster turnover. Free agents might start seeing Sacramento as a destination because winning begets belief. Maybe the long playoff drought after Adelman leaves never happens. Arco's cowbells become a league-wide symbol, not just of noise, but of banners. That's a story worth telling in an alternate NBA history book.
Thanks for joining us. Stay curious and keep learning.
Catch you next time on Laid Back Learning. Keep exploring those rabbit holes.